I want to again thank all the panelists, and we expect to be called for votes here relatively shortly. But I do want to offer an opportunity if anybody feels like there's a thought that came up during the testimony and they want to add it at the end here and didn't feel like they had a chance to say it. If anybody has any final comment, I want to offer that chance.
I don't want to jump on the bandwagon here, but given the
please.
opportunity, I think what we're talking about boiling it down to a more simple discussion, I guess, the forms of financing here that we're discussing, venture versus other, they're different industries and they're different business models. But I think it's important to consider if you have a choice between going to get a loan from a commercial bank that has tens of thousands of employees and tens of thousands potentially of shareholders, someone ultimately owns that financing. There is a difference certainly between that mechanism of financing, one because it's harder to get in a case of a company that owns very little, and a venture. It's a risk equation, and the commercial bank in our setting is not going to offer financing to a startup company. Like the ones we're discussing. They have nothing essentially to repossess except ideas. Mm-hmm. So the venture funding is critical to the medical technology industry in order to get that product from idea to bedside. And it's a question of risk. And the venture firms exist on the financing equation, on the financing spectrum for a reason, because they're willing to take certain risks that others are not. And I think that, in short, is the critical issue for us as the program is reauthorized.
Ms. Blakey.
Well, one thing I would say, and I think there's a commonality up here, but in all the talk about venture capital, I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that one of the critical things here is a longer reauthorization period. So you have program stability, you can build awareness, you can build competition, and then adding into that the larger award amounts as well as a larger pool of money, again, will bring the best and the brightest and will make it a much stronger program. So those three elements, please don't lose sight of how critical they are in this. Thank you.
I don't think the size of the program needs to be increased. I think it just needs to be better managed. I've also heard discussions about quotas and stuff for venture capital. I think a legitimate venture fund is easy to define. Multiple limited partners, domestic money, more than X companies in the portfolio, limited life. We should be defined as persons for ownership purposes for all of the small business programs, if they're in fact small businesses. So it's the management piece here that I think you can get much more bang than increasing the program size and throwing the venture community a bone. Report it, collect it. The venture-backed companies are 20% of the GDP, 10% of the employment. I mean, pound for pound, these are the most promising companies in the country. And as I said, we don't get them all. We get about half of them. About half of them are venture-backed. And to exclude those from solving critical national problems is just foolish.
All right, well, again, let me thank you all for being here, and I want to thank you not only for sharing your experience with us today, but also for everything that you all do to drive the economy forward. I see it as our role here in Congress to work together to try to maintain an enabling environment for you and your members to do what you do, to create the innovations, to come up with new technologies, to create the new jobs, and to really drive our economy forward. So we appreciate all of what you are doing every day to make that work. In conclusion, I'd like to ask unanimous consent that members have 5 days to submit statements and supporting materials for the record. Without objection, so ordered. And in bringing this hearing to a close, the hearing is now adjourned. Thank you again.